And welcome on back, everyone, to episode number 92 of Streaming with the Mouse. My name is Clifton Paul Robinson, and today we'll be breaking down the previous two episodes of Star Wars The Bad Batch. In for a wild time as we get ready for the season finale this coming Friday. Stay tuned, and you're listening to Streaming with the Mouse. And welcome on back, everyone, to another episode of Streaming with the Mouse. My name is Clifton Paul Robinson, and joining me as always is my co-host, my co-pilot. At this point, we're just kind of throwing caution to the wind with different clone names because you have a new favorite one each week. Cam Ramos. Cam, how are you doing?
I'm good. Finally, some better episodes of Bad Batch. So we'll leave it at that. But no, very excited to talk Bad Batch. I'm doing well. Very excited for this week where we have the season finale, but also we have the season finale of Bad Batch, but we also have the season premiere of What If, and I couldn't be more excited about that. So it's gonna be a great week for Disney Plus.
It's a very great week. We took a little bit, almost a 2-week hiatus between episodes because it's hard to do one each week. I mean, we could have with last week's, but oh well.
Also, summer vacations. I don't know what you want.
It happens.
We got it. We'll get through.
And today we'll be talking about the episodes War Mantle and then Return to Kamino. We won't be doing play-by-play. We'll be doing top 5 things in each episode because that kind of covers it more because they're only 20-minute episodes. But before we jump into that, we do have some news, and Cam mentioning better episodes currently. It's put into a little bit more light because we have confirmation that Bad Batch has been renewed for a season 2 sometime next year. Makes me a little bit less nervous about this coming Friday.
I agree.
I think I have an idea why it was so emotional now for this coming Friday's episode. Season 2, though, we kind of expected it. We didn't really know. I'm excited. I don't think we know how many episodes, but we just know there's something coming.
I hope it is significantly less episodes than this season. I love this show. I really do. I just personally thought 16 episodes is way too long. There was definitely a lot of filler in this, in my opinion. If you don't think that, that's absolutely fine. That's your opinion. But there's been 10 good, solid... Well, there's been 9 good, solid episodes. I'm assuming Friday's going to be the 10th one. But I just, I don't know. I hope it's less. I hope they just focus on, here's the arc. This is what we're doing. Done. But we'll see.
We look back on the past through a beautiful nostalgic gaze, as there were Clone Wars episodes where we're like, why is this on? I remember when when Star Wars Clone Wars first came out, I saw the ambush episode so many times where Yoda was with those clones, trying to get the Trandoshan support. So I understand why it happens. It's a way to expand the universe. I respect it.
For sure, yes. I needed a little more. Hit me hard with it, and let's get going.
If it's going to be 16 episodes, we'll know not to do an episode each week.
Yes, for sure. That will not be happening.
And in other important news, surprising as well, the implications are surprising. Disney's Hawkeye gets a November 24th release date. Cool. It kind of lines up where we'll finish right when Spider-Man comes out. However, there is this little between What If and Hawkeye. People were originally expecting it to be Miss Marvel. However, it looks like Miss Marvel has been delayed at this point to something later, because why would you say Hawkeye's coming out before Miss Marvel? Just implications are a little odd. It still might be that span that it might go What If, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye. It's just a little odd to me that they have not released the Miss Marvel release date yet.
From what I've seen, though, Miss Marvel is still confirmed will be starting this year. So maybe it might be the last week in December, but Miss Marvel will still be coming out this year. What's nice about the Hawkeye series is it was the 24th, right?
Yes.
So that's nice. It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving this year, because Thanksgiving is the 25th. So I'll be a nice Thanksgiving week treat kind of a thing.
And
So
that's what a lot of us were expecting. We were expecting that
one of them
Thanksgiving-ish.
too.
Hawkeye makes a lot of sense, especially. Are we good? I don't know. Are we good enough for spoilers now?
Whoa.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Stop, close your ears for 5 seconds.
Close
Um,
your ears, he said. Close your ears.
if the implications from Black Widow have any importance, it actually makes more sense to have Hawkeye before Miss Marvel at this point. But it'll be interesting to see moving forward. I love Kate Bishop and I love Kamala Khan. I am happy either way. I talk to Katie, who's one of the writers of Hawkeye, regularly. Very exciting just to like see. It's like fun to see it through different. Like I'm very excited for both of them for very different reasons.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and then speaking of Black Widow, oh boy, in news that just wow, I think Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney for a breach of contract in regards to Black Widow being released on Disney Plus. For people that don't know, maybe don't care, or just don't follow along to it, when some of these actors get big enough, their contracts and their profit is based along how it does at the movie theater. With Black Widow and in Scarlett Johansson's specific contract, it said that her movies cannot go to video on demand. Money beliefs with the Disney, they actually did release the Disney Plus numbers. They believe that it cost Scarlett Johansson $50 million.
It's a shiny penny. It's fine.
Just a shiny penny. $50 million because it went on to Disney Plus. Because of this, we're seeing other things. It's not now just Disney. We do see that Emma Stone was considering it for Cruella. Dwayne Johnson said he's not going to consider it for Jungle Cruise because that man is just a walking cash register at this point. Someone made a joke that Moana money made him too much to really mess with it. And then we have also seen Emily Blunt and John Krasinski saying they might go after Paramount Plus or whoever it was for A Quiet Place 2.
But Blunt could go after Disney too for Jungle Cruise if she wanted to, probably.
That was the other thing. I think Dwayne Johnson saying he wasn't kind of messed that up. But what are your thoughts? This is just a really interesting thing. And I mean, we're a Disney Plus podcast, so seeing the implications that Disney Plus has outside of the scope is interesting to look at.
Yeah, I think I don't have. I'm whatever they want to do. Like it's their right to go after Disney or Paramount or wherever these people are. It doesn't matter to me really. I have like no real fight in it. Obviously, I don't care. I know some people on Twitter were like arguing back and forth. I was like, I don't give a crap about Scarlett Johansson like suing Disney. I hope she gets all the money she deserves because Black Widow is awesome and she's awesome. So I don't really care about that. I was just more surprised that this hasn't happened sooner, especially with HBO Max has been releasing all these movies basically like before, if that makes sense. Like they've been doing these big releases since January 1. So I'm surprised no other actor has like really gone after this until Scarlett Johansson a couple weeks ago, essentially. So I think that was the most surprising for me that it took so long.
I'm going to say yes and no. I think HBO Max is its own special beast because HBO has so much money and their contracts are tied differently.
Sure.
It also, I think, depends
but
on
like
the actor. Obviously, yeah, exactly. But obviously, someone that's in their first acting credit or hasn't jumped to the level that someone like ScarJo is at, whether you like her acting or not, because that was another debate, which I'll mention the meme in a second. You have to get to a certain level to get that kind of money, because that's going to make you. That's how, like, if you get that in your contract, you're going to be making millions upon millions of dollars. The meme was really funny where it was from Rise of Skywalker where it was Hux and it was like, I don't want ScarJo to win, I just want the mouse to lose. I thought that was really funny. That really cracked me up, no matter your opinion on it. But my personal opinion is I definitely side with Scarlett Johansson, mainly
I side with all the actors.
Yeah, mainly because, and it's the whole thing with the meme where it's like I don't really care. Like she gets her money, that's great, but Scarlett Johansson is still at the moment an A-list actress, a very powerful name in Hollywood, and so are these other actors that are speaking out. How many times has this happened? How many times has Disney and all these big companies breached a contract with actors that couldn't risk speaking out for
Right.
themselves? This is something I think it's a really important talking point. Obviously, there's whole things about these big media companies and their lawyers. It's hard. It's kind of scary to think how they can just be like, oh yeah, even though we have this contract, we're not gonna do this part of it. And it's even worse when you hear Scarlett Johansson's lawyers being like, yeah, we tried to reach out like last year and they didn't even get back to us.
Right.
It'll
Well,
be
here's what I'll say.
interesting. Yeah.
I side with Scarlett Johansson. I side with all the actors, but at the same time, I think what Disney did by and all these companies did by putting them online so you could stream them, stuff like that. As a consumer, I was happy with that, especially a consumer in the middle of a pandemic. Like I could make that choice. I made the choice to go to a movie theater to see Black Widow, but I didn't make that choice for Ryan the Lost Dragon because at that point I was unvaccinated still. So I was a little nervous with that. So it was nice to have the premiere access where I could actually watch that movie and like have a little sense of normalcy. So I'm fine with Disney putting this on Disney Plus as premiere access. So like, and I hope they can continue to do that because I think that's the way the box office is really turning. We'll see. But I also get Scarlett Johansson's side, especially if it's said specifically in their contract that you cannot do this. Then I don't know why Disney.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
terrible.
For what we're going through, it's great for what it is. However, the fact that Disney came out and said
Yes.
Scarlett Johansson isn't taking into account that
that
there's a
statement
global
was
pandemic.
yes.
I read that and I'm like, oh, they know they're guilty. They're trying to guilt the public, but
Yes.
everyone saw through it.
Yeah, that was some BS. On
That was something I'm like, oh no,
ugly.
don't say that.
That was very ugly.
Yeah, but that's all I have to say on the matter, and that's it for news this week. I don't know if
I
you have
got one
anything
more
else.
news story.
Okay.
Probably eventually we'll talk about High School Musical, the musical series season 2. I just want to give my it's not really news, just a quick thought. The finale stunk. The finale was terrible.
I have not seen it.
Terrible.
I have been a bad boy. I have not watched it since we had the episode about. Did we even have an episode about the beginning of it? I completely forgot.
Yeah,
yes, we did.
Like,
it's been so long. It's been so much Bad Batch and Loki and everything. I have not seen it. The only thing I have heard, and I am not. Oh, I did get a shout out from Olivia Rodrigo on Twitter. That was pretty cool. She saw my tweet. Did you not see that? We won't talk about that right now. I have heard that it is turning into a Glee-esque show, and all I will say on this matter before this. You can come at me all you want. All I will say is there is a very thin line between being a very fun High School Musical-esque show like it was in season 1 and crossing that line and becoming Glee. Once you cross that line, you can't come back. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
I've never watched Glee. The cast was phenomenal. The storyline stunk. I'm going to put it on that they had to make some changes because of COVID. That's what my headcanon is. But my goodness, I have no idea what happened in that season finale, and it left on a stupid cliffhanger. And it just didn't
I don't even think they've been confirmed for a season 3 yet.
I
think it will. I'm curious to see because with Olivia Rodrigo's jump into fame, I don't know if she'll. I'm not going to say that she'll want to come back.
She's so famous,
but she's become so famous. You're almost like High School Musical series is very much a Disney Channel show.
Yes.
And at what point do you want to keep doing that? And it's nothing against her. It's just there's certain parts where you go on. But yeah, she did like a GQ interview, and I tweeted like months ago as a joke. I said, "How does Olivia Rodrigo have her driver's license? She doesn't know how to parallel park." So I have been called very observant by Olivia Rodrigo, and I will ride that high for the rest of this week.
There you go.
But Cam, it is time to talk about what this podcast unofficially is, and that is Star Wars.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
So War Mantle, very surprised by it. The official description: after receiving a mysterious distress call, the batch tracks it to a secret facility. So we'll start, we're going to do 5 main points, and we open up in this really interesting chase where we're seeing clones getting tracked down, a clone getting tracked down by another clone, as well as these animals. I believe it's mastiffs. And you think they're going to escape, and finally they get caught, and it's showing this interesting thing where clones are rebelling. This is the big thing. going towards the end of the season. The clones are rebelling, but we're also seeing certain other clones go. It's becoming a mini war between the clones themselves, or so we think
Right.
they're clones. Um, and all we know about this clone is that they're very important to Rex. Rex needs them in and out. But just opening the scene with, we're seeing more and more differences between clones. And what do you think? Like, how do you think this impacts Star Wars? Like, in this era?
I think this is something that we've always wanted to see, right? Like, how do we transition from the clones to like just normal everyday soldiers who are fighting for the cause of the Empire? So it's cool to see that this is like the seeds being sown, and it's been kind of sown throughout the series, but especially now of like this is how that transition is happening. The clones are a little off with each other, and eventually this is going to lead to their downfall and the rise of like these non-clone troopers, essentially. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. The non clone troopers is even better, which is what we'll talk about in the second point, where as the batch is called by Rex to go and bring this clone that we saw get captured out. And when they break into this incredible base, I thought it very much reminded me of The Force Awakens. I really enjoyed it. We get a familiar and very old sight. As we now know, it's like we keep getting the missing link, where we know what the stormtrooper helmets look like before they're stormtrooper helmets.
Right.
And they're very much the Ralph McQuarrie stormtrooper helmets from the original concepts all the way back to A New Hope. But even more so, when they're fighting these clones, we actually find out that the Empire has secretly been training the first batch of stormtroopers. I
Right.
believe, what's their call sign? Um,
TK.
the first of the
Really.
TKs instead of the CTs, and
Yeah.
we see regular humans, and they're being trained by clone commandos. How long do you think this has been going on for?
I I mean with I mean at the same time that this is all happening, right? The final order is probably being in preparation right now from Palpatine, even though
Mm-hmm.
he just took over as Chancellor. So these troopers being trained probably for like 10 years, probably since the beginning of the Clone Wars, and it would make sense because you can easily put it as like, oh, like yeah, we have these clone troopers, but we also want to train you as soldiers too. So they could easily have been listing these people on the back without anybody knowing for a while now. So honestly, probably since the beginning of the Clone Wars, people have been being trained. But I will say the Ralph concept art being used is really cool. That's awfully special to me because that's a very like Rebels thing to do, where like the Lasats looked like the old school Chewbacca. The Vader helmet was very much the Ralph McQuarrie concept art. Same with the troopers, the way they did that. So it was cool to see like that kind of concept art being used again in animation here.
Yeah, I as soon as we use this meme way too much, like the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV meme. That's how I felt as soon as I'm like, oh, I saw it,
Yeah,
um, and it was really cool. I thought it was even. I really loved seeing the clone commandos. We had, I believe his name was Scorch, who was from the old, very old video game that took place during Attack of the Clones, and people are mad because all the EU fans are mad because Scorch that the storyline of them, I believe they were Havoc Squad, got overwritten kind of by Bad Batch and some of the events during Clone Wars, but they kind of still fit, and we know that they
yeah,
now exist in the Clone Wars, which is really cool. Because we've also seen them in one of the Kamino episodes.
right.
Anything else to say on the stormtroopers? I was so happy to see them because it really, I've been wondering like when does this armor switch over, and I'm really happy. We always freaked out when it was like helmet A to helmet 1A to B to and continuously going. So it was nice to see like
Right.
this next step in the evolution.
Yeah, it's cool when you put like how they do like those old school like wooden signs that show you like the history of the New England Patriots jerseys, and it's like the 1960 jersey all the way
Mm-hmm.
till now. It's cool to see that with like the helmets, the transition of it when you go from clone to stormtrooper, and then eventually to like Sith trooper. Now that you have Episode 9, so that's always cool to see.
That's true as well.
So another
Um,
little piece of the puzzle there.
I think the puzzle's complete as well at this point.
They're always going to add more troopers though. We just
Oh,
had Death
but
Troopers.
from
Yeah.
original, from the
Oh yes, yes,
original,
from the
for
original. Yeah, yeah, for
original
sure. Yes,
standard troopers.
yes, 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 yes.
but the batch still succeeds. They go on this wild goose chase and they make it to the detention level, and they're able to bust out this kind of crazy clone trooper, and he goes by the name Gregor. Have we heard of this man before? This clone
Just once or
before?
twice. It was very cool to see Gregor come back. I wasn't expecting that, especially this late in the season. I thought these little cameos would kind of be over with, but like this was actually a good use of one. So it was cool to see Gregor come back, and I thought he had an awesome role in this episode here.
And this is what I mean when I talk about it. This one, I was excited for this one because it makes sense that Clone Force 99 is the saviors of clone troopers. They can save these clones that down the line we know something happens where Rex, Gregor, and Wolf are together, and something bad happened that made them run away from the fight.
Right.
Which makes sense. Why would they talk about the Bad Batch when there's so many more clones they could talk about? There's Echo, all these people that are very like. It makes sense that the Bad Batch isn't in our face compared to people like Hera, where it's like Hera's like major spark for the rebellion is because of the Bad Batch. Now, at this point, obviously,
like her, like Kanan running away now,
right? Like Kanan running away. I still have a belief that it's just like fill in the blank, like just insert that, and then he gets to the storyline,
right?
But Gregor is already a little crazy. We know he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in Rebels.
But that's why we love him.
We first meet him in everyone's favorite Clone Wars arc about the droids with Gizar Gaxon, I believe the admiral.
That little guy, right?
The little frog.
Yeah.
He could be Throg. And Gregor's introduced to us when he has amnesia. They're able to break that. He's a clone. He still has all his armor, actually, from the person that kind of took him as an indentured servant. And he actually allows the droids, one of them being R2, to escape and make these plans. And he promises that he'll be able to get back to the Republic because he has been given his way. Right. He gets back to the Republic, and now he is training the next generation of stormtroopers, the replacements to the clones. But he caught on real quick and tried to escape.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool to see that he has this ingenuity in him to, like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to get out of here. He ultimately fails, but it is what it is.
My guess is that his inhibitor chip was fried in his crash landing. That's my prediction.
That would be an idea.
That would be my best bet. And we know that he ends up helping the batch escape. Moving forward, he's able to lead them through the facility because he knows a lot of it until the last second. But we know he is able. We know he lives on until he doesn't. But he does. I know that was a mean Rebels reference. I'm sorry.
You didn't have to do that to me, but it's fine. I'm just gonna pass by over it.
And then the fourth big thing, we go back to Kamino as I like how they call it on Wikipedia, a looming storm. They are Crosshair and Rampart are talking, and they say that there's something wrong with the Kaminoans. Something is being planned behind their back, but they know that something is happening, and Rampart is already like 20 steps ahead of everyone. Right.
Very Tarkin-like.
That's what I like about him. He's a good villain. I hope he doesn't die next week because I think you could stretch him out for a couple more seasons. Because I mean, Bad Batch has only taken over like 7 months at most.
Right.
And we see Lama Su kind of being like, it's time for us. Like, we know the Empire has voided our contract and they won't let this get out. We need our own plan. And Nala Se understands that as well. Earlier, something that's really interesting, Nala Se was leading out a group of juvenile clones, like the last of the clones, and they're saying, are we still going to get trained? All this. Someone on Twitter brought up this really good point where it's one of the Fallen Order comics where the clones become the Jedi Hunter troopers, the ones with all black, and they actually like tied that together really well. But when Nala Se and Lama Su are talking to each other, the clones and Rampart break in. They interrupt their conversation, saying that they're no longer needed. The scientists are needed, but politicians are not.
Yeah.
And Lama Su thought he was so smart, thought he could outsmart the Empire, and Rampart didn't even let that happen. As Nala Se gets taken into custody, All we know is that with Crosshair in the room and the other of his group, the door closes, and sorry, Lamasu, you
Well,
lost.
what's cool about that quote is like it kind of ties into Mandalorian a little bit because you have that, I forget his name off the top of my head, sorry, but like you have that scientist who has like that
Dr. Pershing.
Thank you, that has like Kamino, I always forget
Yes, the Kaminoan
Kaminoan, like
patch.
symbol. So like the scientists were needed, so they really like cultivated those scientists. Um, Even though he doesn't look like somebody from Kamino, like he still has that. So the Empire need those scientists. So it's obviously they're going to take her away from them and then kill off this politician that could have some sort of uprising in his midst. Just get rid of him and Empire style, Palpatine style, and that way you can cut off the head and no more snakes appear.
And we know in the next episode, Nala Se is very much more competent than we expect.
Yes.
And the final big point of this episode, the whole is more important than the one. The team is more important than the individual, as Hunter ends up not being able to reach the Havoc Marauder when they're escaping, and he falls down. Luckily, he has some trees to break his fall. And something that Omega doesn't understand yet is that it's you need to live to fight another day. As Hunter is telling them, get out of here. I made my choice. You need to escape and listen to my orders. Hunter sacrifices himself so that Clone Force 99 can live to fight another day, as he is taken into custody and then in the end is actually brought to Crosshair, where they will be bringing him back to Kamino.
This was like just shocking to me. Like this whole scene, like I don't know. I feel like Hunter could have probably got onto the ship with them, but like I didn't think Hunter was going to be the one that was going to get left behind. I'm glad he was because I think it's a deeper impact if like he gets left behind instead of like Tech or Wrecker or something like that, or even Omega because we've seen Omega left behind before. So I'm glad they didn't go that route. So it was interesting to see. And then obviously you have I'm assuming we're going to talk about it, but the Crosshair and Hunter moment too later in this episode to set up the season finale. It was incredible. This whole scene was great. Had a lot of I'm going to bring Mandalorian up again. Had a lot of Mandalorian season 2 vibes when they were trying to get into that base on Grief's home world. I feel.
Oh yeah, it was very much built like that.
It reminded me of that a little bit, where they saw the Death Troopers and stuff like that. So it was really interesting to see this.
Yeah, I think what you were meaning to say, like you weren't expecting it to be Hunter, but only Hunter would make it have that kind of weight.
Yes, it makes
you have that.
You said it better than I did.
You have that. Oh crap, he might die. Because this episode came up before we had a season 2.
Right.
So we were sitting there like, oh my god. The only reason they honestly should have announced season 2 literally like right after this upcoming episode.
They should have done it just like Loki. That's how they should have done it.
That's honestly what they should have done.
Bad Batch will return in season 2. Same thing as Book of Boba Fett. Same exact thing at the very end.
It's so crazy we get Book of Boba Fett this year.
I'm so excited.
Anything else to say? This episode, very good. One of the better ones of this season for sure.
This really turned everything around, I felt like.
Absolutely.
No offense to it, it just hasn't been for me. Like I still love Star Wars. I still watch all the episodes. Obviously, I'm not saying anything against that. But man, it felt good to be like, oh yeah, this show, we're back. This is what I was loving all those times throughout this couple months, basically.
Yes, exactly. And then the next episode, it's a 2-part season finale. It always makes me mad when they go back to back. It should have just been 1 hour long thing. But Return to Kamino. It's also titled Finale Part 1. The Bad Batch finds themselves in unexpected territory in this thrilling finale. So, as we know, Hunter is captured, and this whole season has been a game of cat and mouse between Hunter, the Bad Batch, and Crosshair. And right again, Crosshair tries to set his trap and turns on Hunter's tracking beacon in hyperspace. And Hunter goes, they know what he's doing. Like it's pretty obvious what you're doing. And that's what happened. Like it's kind of this back and forth, and you could tell that Crosshair has this like pissed off mentality, but he really wavers a lot in this episode.
which is shocking to me. The things we learn about Crosshair in this episode is absolutely shocking to me. It's what does Luke say in Last Jedi? Like everything about that sentence or something like that, or everything you thought you knew is wrong. Basically, like everything I thought leading up to Crosshair here was completely and totally wrong, which is great. It was a great little twist.
It. We'll talk about it.
Do you not think it's great? I think it's great.
No, we'll talk about it because that's gonna be the last. That's gonna be the last point.
Right.
Second to last point. And of course, when the tracker goes off, Omega right away is like, "We have to save him. This is like what we have to do."
Very Omega, we gotta do the right thing.
And Omega knows, and what we end up finding out is that Crosshair brings Hunter back to Kamino, and the plan is to make him one of them, like join the Empire. That's all we know. But when we get to Kamino, it's completely wiped out. There's 3 ships remaining, and it's a ghost town. As we now see that they're completely leaving Kamino.
The clone troopers are supposedly somewhere else. Do you think they really are somewhere else, or do you think they're dead?
No, they're definitely somewhere else because we know that the clone troopers turn into a lot of the shock troopers, into a lot of into a lot of the Jedi Hunter troopers.
Yeah,
they're still more advanced. But those aren't the ones that deal with day-to-day problems.
Okay. Cool.
So I think some of them. I think as soon as one of them acts slightly out of line,
done.
Sorry, you're out of here. You're one with the Force now. And however, what happens is that some of the other clones, all we know is that they're ES dash something, Elite Squad. They don't trust Crosshair, and they tell Rampart that, and Rampart says if something happens with Crosshair, just get rid of him as well.
Done. Yep.
Which was very shocking as well. It made sense.
I hope they keep Rampart. He's good. He's really good.
So the next big thing, though, is the hidden realizations of Nala Se, as we know that they see the Havoc Marauder enter the atmosphere, but then it disappears because Omega leads them to a secret underwater research facility created by Nala Se.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I loved this world building of the platforms and like the secret underwater train. That was some really cool world building for Kamino that I never thought we'd see before. That was awesome.
I know. I was really impressed with it because Kamino is so mysterious, and it's still mysterious, but it's still very cool.
Absolutely.
And it leads them to the secret base where no one knows. Only Nala Se and Omega knew where it was. And Omega gives us this very big Aslan. I was there when the books were written. As she says, "This is where you were created." I remember watching it. Where
if anybody needs to know what Aslan is, that's the line from. What did you say it was from?
The Chronicles of Narnia.
Thank you. I had no idea who that was.
And we now know that Omega is older than the Bad Batch, technically.
Was that official? I didn't get taken.
Well, because she said this is where I watched. I took it as she was like, I watched you guys get created. I saw you get. I saw this happen here.
Maybe because she's unaltered then, so that could actually make sense then. Okay, while the other ones were
it's
the engineer. Okay, so
she adds that she was present during the creation of Experimental Unit 99.
Oh, I watched it very early in the morning, so I definitely missed that then. Okay, wow,
and you could tell Omega was very kind of upset, and she didn't want to come back here. But she drops this huge thing where we also can expect that. Omega was the last of the first clones. So if Boba Fett was the first one, Boba Fett was literally picked off and given to Jango Fett. Omega was just whatever number Omega is in the Greek alphabet. I don't know that off the top of my head. 25.
I think Omega's the end. It's whatever.
She's the last. She was the last of the first batch.
Right.
And Nala Se obviously took her and altered her to become a female, and then grew up with Nala Se. Where it kind of makes sense that actually Jango Fett was the creator, was the source, but Nala Se was the creator.
The engineer behind it, right?
So it makes sense that each of them have their own little counterpart, which was like their child.
Right, right.
And that to me was really cool. But you could tell Omega did not want to be there.
No, and it's definitely jarring for her, and definitely like some PTSD vibes, which I never want to see anybody have PTSD, but it definitely added a little extra wrinkle, a little extra layer to her character here.
It really did, and it also added
Omega
a friendly.
Was phenomenal. Sorry,
Omega was phenomenal, but it also added a friendly
was
face where AZ3 is back, and it kind of is nice because obviously Gonky sacrificed himself last episode,
yeah.
R.I.P. But we get AZ back, and I think AZ will be here to stay,
I think so too.
which we kind of track. I believe that's Tom Kenny as well, who is the voice of SpongeBob.
Is it? Okay.
And then we're back in the training facility because that's where Crosshair brought Hunter, and Hunter's like this. They know this would be a trap, blah blah blah. And then what does the Bad Batch do? Walk right into the trap.
It was the most obvious thing in the world. Like it wasn't even going to try to be sneaky. Like, oh, we got this great plan. No, it wasn't. You just pop them right up in the elevator to the training room.
Yep, they thought they would enter through the front door, but that was like, no, that's what Crosshair will think. Crosshair, I think, might be the... I don't want to say the smartest. He actually might be.
I think it's him or Hunter, probably.
He's probably maybe most clever.
Sure, okay, yeah.
I don't know exactly how to say it.
I was hoping Omega would definitely help out and be like, no, this is a dumb plan. Like, this is what we're going to do instead. But here we are.
Yeah, here we are, and what they told Omega is that if anyone sends a signal to get out and call Rex for help. And live again, they're trying to teach her live to fight another day. She doesn't get that. Or as soon as she gets the signal, she activates all of the training droids.
Just all of them, no big deal.
All of them.
It was a cool scene though. The fight scene was really awesome.
But even more interesting is that instead they had orders to kill the Bad Batch. That's what it seemed like. And instead, Crosshair says, I want you to join me. Join the Empire. And right there, all of his other troopers were like, no. We have other orders. You have your thoughts, but we have our orders. And they are about to turn on the Batch. And Crosshair he played these guys like fiddles.
It was great.
He had his like mirror things set up and shot one bullet, and it took every single elite trooper out, killing them except for one that was not there, who alerted Rampart.
That was a shocking like moment because I was expecting him to just go bang, 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 and then it was just like, oh no, one shot dead, everybody's gone. I was like, okay, Crosshair.
I was very surprised. That to me it was very selfish compared to the rest of it because he didn't care about the people. And then there is this battle where the Batch has to kill all the robots. They do, and this is what you were wanting to talk about. Finally, they're like, Hunter's like, this isn't you. This is your inhibitor chip. And Crosshair's like, no, it is me. I had my inhibitor chip removed. This is who I choose to be. And it was like a mic drop.
I loved it. Cliff. Here's the thing. I wish we knew when he actually took it off because it'd be so awesome if he was like, dude, I've known about these inhibitor chips for years now. My thing's been gone forever. But I also like the ambiguity he gives. He goes like, that's for me. Basically, like that's for me to know when he got it removed. But the fact Star Wars is all about a couple things. Star Wars is about the family you choose, and it's about the choices you make between the dark and the light. So having that dark and light conversation, especially where the Force isn't involved, it's a trooper, where it's not a Jedi, it's not a Sith. It was very, very cool to see that this is the choice he chooses to be in defiance of his brothers. Like, I still want to be your brother, but like this is who I am. Like, nothing is making me do this. This is all me. It was shocking to me because this whole time it was that MacGuffin, like, oh, we got to help Crosshair out. We got to save him, get that inhibitor chip out. No, this is just who Crosshair is. Phenomenal storytelling here.
We know he had it in the first episode. We saw them enhance his chip.
Oh, right. Okay, yes. Yeah. So
there's that.
But he still chooses to be this. Which
If
is
he
great.
chose to be this, it's because he was abandoned. He keeps saying that, like, you abandoned me. Like, this wouldn't have happened if you didn't abandon me, blah, blah, blah. And in my personal opinion, Crosshair is a dirty, rotten liar.
But I like it.
I don't think he has taken his inhibitor chip out.
Really? So you
I
think that
don't.
scar is just from like when he got blown up, basically?
That's what happened when he got the fire.
Right.
We knew that because he was all wrapped and everything.
That's a good point, Cliff.
I think he's lying. I personally think he's lying. But then there's this great standoff where Hunter's able to disarm him, knock him out. But he said, this time we're not leaving him. Wrecker grab him. And then, interestingly, Hunter dons the backpack in his rifle. I thought that was kind of interesting to me.
Real quick, do you think the inhibitor chip is making him do the lying still, or no?
That's a good question. I don't know. I just
Maybe it's,
don't
so
think...
enhanced.
I think that it's so they enhanced it so ridiculously. He doesn't know, like he thinks that he is doing this out of his own free will.
Because you do have that conversation in the jail cell from like episode 1, where like Omega's like, I know you don't want to do this, basically to him, and then he does it.
That's a good point. That's
So,
a
like,
good point too.
And that was with the inhibitor chip in still. So like I don't know. So like maybe I don't know. Yeah. So I mean, Hunter probably bought that line like hook, line, and sinker. Like, oh, there's the scar, but that must have just been from when he's blown up, and Hunter might not have realized that. So maybe he does have it. Maybe the inhibitor chip is just that strong. So maybe there is some good still in him. But I thought it was a nice twist where they're like, even if it's like a twist within a twist, it was still cool to be like, no, I don't have it. Like, this is just me. I do like that plot line, but then we'll see what happens next week if he actually does have, or this week if he actually does have the inhibitor chip in.
It will be interesting. And then the saddest part of this whole episode and the final point is finally we have Rampart say fire when ready on the city, and they move into position and start blowing up Kamino.
What a cliffhanger.
And it made even more like a shot to the heart because they used so many shots from when we were first introduced to Kamino in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
All we know is the batch is still on Topeka City when this happens, and that's where we stay until this coming Friday.
Cliff, does any of the Bad Batch not make it out of this season?
I could picture... There's a whole thing based around choice. That's the thing. It's who your family is and the choices you make. It could totally be something that Crosshair sacrifices himself. He chooses to be good in the end. He chooses to do the right thing for his family in the end. That's the only emotional one I would think would hit hard. I think if they went just based around like emotion factor, they'd kill Echo, but I think that would be so dirty. That would be so
Echo and
dirty.
Crosshair are dead. I think they're dead.
Oh, you think both of them? I think if anyone, Tech might be like a MacGuffin.
And then you keep Echo and basically do Tech's job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think either Tech or Echo gone, and I definitely think Crosshair's gone.
I think Echo has to die with Rex.
I mean...
Rex might show up. Who knows?
Right, like he absolutely could show up here kind of thing. So potentially, like you could have one last moment where like Echo's dying in his arms. And like
that'd be sad. That'd be depressing.
I don't even think about that, but...
Yeah, why would you say that?
You have to on Friday.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? How dare you? But anything else to add? This was a great part 1 to a season finale.
I'm excited to watch part 1 and part 2.
That's true also. That'll be great. But then the better part and your favorite part, where can they find you on social media?
If you want to talk about Bad Batch, what if, anything Disney Plus, how good or bad the season finale of High School Musical, the musical series was, you can find me on Twitter at CamRamos95. You can find the podcast at Stream the Mouse on Twitter. On Instagram and Facebook, you can find us on there at Streaming with the Mouse. Find us at our website, cprob.com/streamthemouse. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, as well as YouTube. Cliff, where can they find you?
Don't talk to me about High School Musical, the musical, the series, because I have not watched it yet. Well, the season finale. I'm scared now, also, because of what Cam told me. But you can find me at CPRobinson81. You can go look at my tweet to Olivia Rodrigo, I guess. That's a cool one. I should tag it. No, I won't.
A little not showkeeping, but housekeeping. We will have an episode of What If this Thursday. Will come out. You'll have an episode of What If, episode 1, because the episode will premiere Wednesday. You'll have an episode of Streaming the Mouse recap of it on Thursday. Season finale, we're figuring out. I'm on vacation next week. We might try to get something in before I leave. We might not be able to, and Cliff will find a person to co-host with them. But we'll get you a season finale recap of Bad Batch. I'll definitely be watching. Keep up on Twitter with me in case I don't get to be on that episode. Keep on my Twitter, and I'm definitely have some thoughts on there as well. But you will have a What If episode. I'm very excited for that. But yeah, anything else, Cliff, for today?
If not, have a magical day.
See ya.